The test series is over.
Get that, India.
Welcome to episode 8 of the Kingsgrove Sports Podcast.
I want to say more, but I won't.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome, as Stu says, to episode 8 of the Kingsgrove Sports Podcast. Now, I'm going to get this bit out of the way before I give you any of the Twitter handles. Producer Nick Yanitsis.
I got a camera on me again, guys. I'm back in the saddle.
I remembered it this week.
Thanks, man.
Yeah, you're very welcome. So, as ever, please use those social media handles. Facebook at Kingsgrove Sports Centre, Instagram at Kingsgrove Sports, and Twitter at Kingsgrove Sport. That is singular. It still can't handle the plural. Use that hashtag KSC podcast. And let's hook into the first topic of the day. It's all over the news. India have won a test series in Australia for the very first time.
We all predicted that one, didn't we?
Yeah, I thought so. Yeah, I think
2-1?
if you go back over the episodes, 2-1.
You
yeah.
said 2-1,
Yeah, I
Stewie?
said 2-1.
I said 2-1.
I said 2-1. Yeah. Charlie, I know you said India would win.
We know our cricket
Yeah.
series.
Yeah.
We are fast becoming an authority on all things cricket.
I thought I would get in early just to stop this bloke from having a gloat.
Oh, I'm not going to have a gloat.
You already have.
I'm just going to take a
Off air.
celebratory sip of tea.
You are English, aren't you?
Very much. Oh, they put sugar in it. It's all gone
They
Pete
always
Tong.
do. I don't know how they do
no.
that to you.
I don't know, even when I'm right there. 2-1 to India in the test series. The final test in Sydney ending as a draw due to weather. I'll be brutally honest, and I'm not saying this to rile you up because you're Australians, but when India put 600 million on the board in the first innings without losing many wickets, I don't think that result's going Australia's way.
No.
No, it never was. To be truthful, from the third test, I don't think it was going Australia's way. I think we were sort of gone by then. And now that I think about it, Stewie, what were we thinking predicting an Australian win?
Well,
I know you're thinking that there was some sort of hope there at one
look,
stage.
I was being a bit optimistic.
Yep.
I think in the first, obviously Perth, we played really well and we won Perth. We were decent in Adelaide.
Yep.
And possibly if Pujara had been given out when he snicked one behind and we didn't review and the replay showed that he did hit it on 80, we possibly could have been 2-0 up going into Melbourne.
Yeah.
Which the series could have been completely different. It might have changed the way India played, etc. Possibly, but they might have played differently in Perth too. So,
Do we go back to that old discussion of was it his responsibility to walk rather than wait for a decision?
No.
No way. Not with the amount of technology that they have in this day and age and all that sort of stuff. It's up to the opposition and the umpires to get it right. It's not up to the batsman to have to work on. I mean, if you want to make that decision, it's totally up to you. But at that level, there's just too much on the line to just say, "Oh, I'm going to do what."
Yeah, there's two blokes paid to make those decisions and they didn't do it. Anyway, so that was. You get those. Good luck to him.
At all levels.
He batted extremely well throughout the entire series. He was the difference between the two sides, basically.
In many ways. I mean, there were a lot of differences. He was the main difference.
He was the main difference, yeah.
There was, at the end of the day, there was a difference in the bowling.
Yep.
Their bowling was better. There was a difference in depth.
Yep.
In regards to players coming into the Indian side and still performing well, and players coming to the Australian side, and it's kind of a different story, isn't it?
We would have liked to have been able to pick an Agarwal and
the big difference is
get him to come in and look so comfortable in Test cricket. Yeah, India were easily the better team. That's why they ranked the number one team in the world, and they proved it. And it was only ever really going to be a matter of time where they should have won a series in Australia. It's probably taken a bit longer than they would have wanted, 71 years, but this is probably. I think this is probably the best Indian team that's come out here in terms of batting and fast bowling especially.
Well, I'm not inclined to disagree, but then when you look back at some of the names that have played here for India and in the same team, such as Dravid, Tendulkar, Ganguly, and Harbhajan Singh, or people like this, it's kind of surprising really that a team with that quality didn't perform better in Australia. I don't think they've had.
They probably haven't had. They probably had their batting has always been the strength when they've come over here. So you got guys like Tendulkar, Dravid, Laxman. They haven't had the bowlers, haven't had the fast bowling.
That's true, but having said,
I think that's been the difference. I mean, you look at, Bumrah was obviously exceptional Shami is a very underrated bowler. He was fantastic. Ishant Sharma, who has an awful record in Australia.
Yeah. Was all of a sudden...
bowled
now,
really well.
Is there a little bit of Kohli captaincy situation coming into effect there?
Probably. I mean, he pushes them very hard. He's got them a lot fitter. He said they needed to be a lot fitter, and they've worked on that, and they've got fitter, and they've got... There's a lot of talk about, if you listen to a lot of the people in the cricketing world, and it goes back to India as a country. This is new India. The players definitely represent new India. They are a lot more aggressive. They are a lot more ambitious and outgoing, and that comes back from the IPL and just
their fielding this time around has been outstanding.
The fielding's been a lot. Aussies is a lot better, but they're a lot more confident. That Kohli's a bit in that. Kohli and Ravi Shastri as well.
Yeah.
Probably have a lot to do with that.
We're not used to that in Australia, are we? Indians being like Australians almost, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
Well, I think the other, if we're comparing the two eras, if you like, you say that India, this is the best team they brought over. I think we sort of also have to temper that with the sides that they came up against. The Australian team of, when Tendulkar and Dravid and those guys are playing, when you have the Pontings, the Wars, the Shane Warnes.
And they were definitely weaker players. I mean, they were great players, don't get me wrong, but they struggled a little bit more in Australia than other places, particularly home.
And probably because they didn't have that attitude that this team has now.
Yeah, exactly.
That attitude started to change, and obviously you're seeing that now, and then whereas in the past, obviously we sort of had, the Australians had that attitude, and we had the skill and the talent to back it up.
Yeah, I did see somewhere that statistically, the top 7 here had the best range of first-class batting averages, the Indian team, since the 1948 Invincibles.
Yeah, I think they all average over 50 or something in
first-class cricket.
I think, and even
it's a pretty decent stat.
Jadeja, who bats at 8 at Test cricket, I think he's still got 3 triple centuries in first-class cricket.
Yeah, and an awesome celebration.
So there's some quality depth to that team, and that's obviously why they're number 1 in the world. But I guess there was still hope that on Australian wickets, and if we were still sort of maintain that sort of pressure that we've been known for, that we would still get on top of them.
We'd obviously,
but we just couldn't find the cracks.
Well, it's just
they gave it.
That was They
gave
we were obviously
back.
hoping we were banking on our bowlers, on our bowling lineup to do the job, and obviously Nathan Lyon did a great job, especially in this first 2 Test matches. Pat Cummins, was tough throughout.
Well, he bowled a great spell in Melbourne.
He did, he did. Unfortunately,
too little, too late.
Too little, too late. It was in the second innings, and so that sort of we were already too far behind the 8 ball. Be interesting to see, because obviously except for Perth, we batted second every time. I think so. Even if we're only putting 250 or something on the board, at least there's something there. Rather than we're chasing 400, we're chasing 600 and whatever in Sydney.
So important in Test cricket to if you're on a decent deck to win that toss, to battle through
and
then bat time. And people complaining about how boring those 2 first innings were in Melbourne and in Sydney by India.
Yeah,
they just set up the Test match.
If you can only bat once, if you can bat well enough in the first lane and bat once.
If you don't want boring, go watch the BBL.
Well, you've got to appreciate
the WBL.
You've got to appreciate the skill in that batting. Because you look at our batting where we couldn't do that. The guys couldn't bat time. Where you watch Pujara and he can, and he lets it go, and he lets the ball come to him, and he hits in his scoring zones. Yeah, look, it's not the most flamboyant, the most exciting batting to watch, but there was guys around him that batted. Kohli and Agarwal and Rahane, whenever he came out, looked like he always had somewhere else to be and would play a lot of shots. And so, there was enough excitement around it. And then you just had to admire Pujara, his concentration, his fitness to bat for that long.
Well, as you said, it's a massive skill. At times, people make the argument that Test cricket can be tedious to watch, but that sort of skill is masterful. Now, producer Nick, you had your first experience of Test cricket.
I did. I went to that. I don't remember which day. Was it day 2?
I think. Was it Friday?
Day 2. It was the day that Pujara got, was it 193 before they got him out?
Yeah.
So, it was incredible to see that many runs be put on the board in one day. I watched India score 300 runs in just that day. And then when his wicket was taken, there was a standing ovation at the SCG. It was pretty...
As there should have been.
Yeah, it was pretty cool. But, I really, really enjoyed the day. But, yeah, it's the first time, actually, I've ever heard anybody who loves cricket as much as someone like Hamish loves cricket, like, just make a clear statement about how boring Test cricket can be.
Yeah. As an outsider to the game of cricket, how did you find the sport as opposed to the spectacle of being there?
It's definitely, like all sports, it's definitely more fun when you're there.
Yep.
I don't know if that's kind of what you're after, but it's just a really enjoyable day. Of course, the weather was fantastic too. It was hot, but if you're in the shade, the weather was a gorgeous day to be outside and watch. Again, it would have been more exciting to watch with other circumstances if more wickets were being taken, or it wasn't just basically India driving the score up.
Yep.
Is that your first the time that you've ever been to a cricket match of any kind?
No, I went with thank Dave for taking me along to the Test cricket day, but he's taken me to WBBL weekend games too.
Yeah, so. And how from your point of view, how do they compare?
Similarly, SCG's just I went to Hurstville Oval or something, I think, and SCG's just a different animal.
Yep.
It's a huge, beautiful stadium, beautiful grounds. So they're just totally different experiences.
Yeah.
And
it'd be cool to see a BBL game played in a venue like that. That would be neat.
Yes,
I've not experienced something like that yet.
And as an American, do you follow baseball at all or anything?
College football.
College football.
Roll Tide.
Okay, so not two comparable sports really.
I don't know. It can be slow sometimes. Football. I mean,
football can be slow. Baseball. I'll say this: I've been to baseball games. I'm not the biggest baseball fan, but watching a game of cricket live is comparable to watching a baseball game live. It's got exciting bits. It's got bits kind of drag, but if you like being outside and watching live sport on a pretty day, it's a good time.
I think generally speaking, for me, cricket. I don't feel like I have to watch a lot of Test cricket. I just love following the game. Go for a swim, come back, check the score, watch an hour, have a snooze. Pujara's still batting, right?
Yeah.
It's a great backdrop.
Yeah.
And it's a social event. You don't go to the cricket by yourself. You take your kids or you go with friends and stuff like that. You catch up, you talk about the game. You've got this wonderful backdrop at a venue such as the MCG or the SCG or the other grounds. It's a great day out.
And then obviously, if there is lots of stuff happening, if there's lots of wicket taking, then you do tend to you tend to focus on the cricket.
Yeah.
But
then the crowd goes with the atmosphere. Goes with the atmosphere,
and then so you they often say that the SCG Test, people from the country come down. It's their one day, and they catch up with people that they haven't seen since last year. Since they
come down for New Year.
So it is always.
I think that's one of the redeeming features of Test cricket. Yeah, as opposed to the other forms where it's just suited to fit
in and out
the common person, who needs things quick and fast.
If we get back to Test cricket in the Australian cricket team, was there any positives that you can take out of the series?
I'd say
you're struggling.
I'll be honest. I might answer that. Marcus Harris.
I was going. Yeah.
Obvious.
Okay. The first game that he played. Absolutely outstanding in the victory at Perth. Was that the first game?
No, that was the second game.
So the second test at Perth, he was outstanding that game. I think we mentioned it on the previous episode. For me, he's the only batsman that stood out for Australia.
Yeah. He played well. He's definitely one that we sort of found it as sort of a lock to, as I say, to go to the Ashes series next year. So which is pleasing where they've managed to find one, which is good. Yeah, everybody else did struggle a bit. A few blokes looked kind of good in a couple of innings, and we
were just it's just a case of, our players did a good job of getting starts.
Yeah,
because no one went on.
No, so this is no one did a Pujara. No one could do that.
How do you play a 4-test series without anyone getting a century? And there's one of the tales. The other issue is that it would appear that. One of the key words for this test series between the two teams and the difference was patience. Now, the Aussie players and the way they were getting out, is that symptomatic of the situation where someone like Hanscom or someone else gets dropped or someone comes into the team, what have they been doing for the last month? Yeah. They've been playing T20 cricket. The Indians are in a situation where they are 100% focused. Some of their players played a few T20 games prior to this series, but they were prepared and practiced.
They played Test cricket.
For Test cricket, whereas we're pulling guys out, or if they get dropped, they go back and play a few T20 games, and then they come back into the team. And, and we rely on T20 cricket as bringing in a lot of money, and there's a great support and a lot of following at the games and stuff like that, which is fantastic, because that in turn, that money will help grow the game and keep the game hopefully healthy in Australia at grassroots level. But something's not right there with the scheduling. I don't know what the answer is, because for the BBL, this period, the holiday period, is the best time.
When it need to be, yeah. So, again, if we go back to India, I know sort of India's focus has been when we were the best team in the world, they were looking at Australia going, what are they doing? We need to do that. We need to, and they've kind of done that, and now they've overtaken us. Yeah. But see, so their first-class competition, the Ranji Trophy, is currently going on right now. It runs, it goes till it starts in September, October, or November or whatever, and goes all the way through. So they don't play Big Bash.
Starts in November and goes through to the following December.
Pretty much. Well, they've got like 37 teams or something. It's a long time. But yeah, so they don't play the IPL.
You got it.
Yeah, straight over your head. No, I'm just. I don't want to dignify his Jack with a response.
What a dynamic we have at the table. Now, you mentioned about preparation. Sorry, you hadn't finished.
But yeah, basically, like the IPL is not played until after the first class season is done. So they had basically India had a whole pool of players that they could have pulled into this test team that were playing 4-day cricket. We got blokes. So we had Peter Hanscom, who was judged not good enough to play in the Melbourne Test, in the Boxing Day Test, or whatever. So they dropped him. So he comes up to Sydney, plays the Big Bash game, scores 70. And that gets him into the Sydney Test match.
It's not right.
Where he gets 30 odd.
Yeah.
Only got that one innings because it rained and he didn't get to bat again.
Yeah.
So now he's not good enough for the Sri Lankan series, so he gets dropped. So how does Pete get better?
Yeah.
If he's good enough to play in Sydney after they thought he wasn't good enough to play after Adelaide and Perth, not good enough to play in Melbourne, gets dropped. But no, you're good to play enough in Sydney. But yeah, no, you're not good enough to play again. What's that? Where's he going? Because he's not going to play Shield game for another month or so.
We mentioned at the top of the summer, the start of the summer. In fact, I think it was you that said it, that the currency for selection should be runs.
Yes.
And the highest run scorer in Shield cricket this year, currently, as we record this, is Matthew Wade. Now, I was reading...
What score is that?
Sorry?
He scored about 600 runs, yeah.
Yeah. And I was reading an article yesterday where he has been told, allegedly, by Cricket Australia selectors, that the reason he hasn't been picked is because he's not batting high enough for his state. If he's scoring the runs, I understand that, you've got to bat in a role that's comparable to what you would do for the international team, but...
So they're saying that the Australians got a number 6 batsman.
Well... I hope that's a rhetorical question because
that's what I think he would be batting. Would it be number 6? I don't think we haven't got a number 6 batsman really. That's not currently in the Test team that scored more runs than Matt Wade.
There's just so many discrepancies in the Australian selection processes at the moment, and with the new team that they've picked, I'm still trying to work out a few things there.
Yeah, I'm looking. And when you look at like the Test that's come up, I'm thinking they're a bit. I'm thinking the selectors are a bit confused. I think.
Renshaw's got a recall as well now,
which is good. He probably should have been. I think he should have been in there all along. They kept talking about some sort of discipline thing that's why he didn't play in the UAE. I don't know what that's about, unless he wasn't training hard enough or his diet wasn't good enough or whatever. But because I think they're getting it, like the selectors are getting a bit lost. I think they've, Trevor Hones and Greg Chappell should remember back to the 1980s when we weren't the greatest team and we're going through a similar sort of transition and similar sort of situation where we weren't that strong and we had to find some players and then we got better and then they should remember how England went about it when they were struggling and they were picking. That's why England currently have like 700 people that have played Test cricket because they were given handicaps out to anybody just hoping for the magic solution, the silver bullet, and it didn't work.
I'm smiling because I said pretty much exactly the same thing in the last podcast.
You've got to sometimes, the old cliche, pick and stick.
Yeah.
But if you think these guys are good enough to play Test cricket, sometimes it takes a long time. If we worked on the argument that you had to come in and you have to score 100 on straight away, Steve Waugh would have been dropped after about his third Test match.
But are we willing to invest? There's a lot of pressure, and it comes from the Australian public.
Well,
social media and stuff like that, because we want instant success.
Well, so this is the thing. Like people now, a lot of people now that are watching it, who were only 20, 24, 25, don't remember the 1980s when we weren't the greatest cricket team, and drawing to New Zealand was a big effort and something to be celebrated. No disrespect to the New Zealand cricket team. I mean, they did have Richard Hadley at the time and Martin Crowe. They had some good players, but that was a big effort that we drew a Test match against New Zealand, and it wasn't until probably the 1989 Ashes series that we started to, and that was the worst cricket team to leave Australia, and we beat England. I think sometimes you gotta. Sorry to bring that up. I just needed a happy memory.
We've still got the Ashes.
That's true. We still have them.
Look, we touched earlier on India's preparation. So I'm just glossing over that at the moment.
Don't blame
and let's if you look back in the last 10, 15 years, whatever it might be, at the teams that have won in Australia, I don't think I'm wrong in saying... Ooh, you're right there?
Yeah, sorry.
I don't think I'm wrong in saying that the teams that have won a Test series in Australia have prepared well. So the preparation coming into the series has been fantastic. England winning the Ashes in 2010-11 had to get that in there, some sort of retaliation. India, South Africa, the teams that have won.
I don't think India's preparation to come in Australia wasn't the greatest. Because you never have the tour games like you used to. They played against the CA11, who even they managed to put 500 on India.
Yeah. No, but what the preparation isn't necessarily just coming over here early and playing a ton of cricket. You mentioned earlier about having their 4-day competition, and that's the format of cricket that they're playing at, and that is preparation for a Test series. England, they did come over here early in 2010-11. They did play the warm-up games. They did play it to a high level. They did take it seriously, and as a consequence, won 3-1.
Yeah.
South Africa...
Can't remember that.
I got the DVD. I'll lend it to you. South Africa came over. I'm pretty sure that their preparation was pretty good as well. Okay, they had, at the time, probably the best bowling attack in the world with Morkel, Steyn...
I think that's probably. I was thinking that's probably the key. If you're going to win in Australia, you need good fast bowlers. You need probably good fast bowlers. So you talk about South Africa with Steyn and Morkel and Philander, and then you look at India, Bumrah, Shami, Yadav, Shami.
With the upcoming series against Sri Lanka, then we've mentioned that bowling is such a huge. It's probably the main reason that teams win games. They've got to take the 20 wickets. As much as the runs are important, we've said no Australian batsmen scored over 100 in the series. The bowlers have got to take the wickets to win the games.
Yep.
Now, you're not going to take 20 wickets in a game if India only have to bat once.
True.
I understand that. But the strength of Cummins, Stark, Hazlewood...
Yep.
Really, Australia, in my opinion, should have done better than they did. Don't get me wrong, the series went exactly as I predicted, and I even predicted Pujara to be player of the series.
You did.
I'm going to put that out there.
Right, just relax. It's okay.
I can't. I've got my cup of tea and it's got sugar in it.
Calm down.
I'm hyped up now.
Look, I agree with you, but if you ask the Indian bowlers who they'd rather bowl at, the Australian batters or the Indian batters, I think the answer is quite obvious.
It is at the moment.
So the Australian bowlers, as we know, they're very good. Whether they're at the top of their game at the moment, probably not after that series and looking at it statistically, but they were bowling at the best batting lineup in the world as it stands at the moment.
Taking it in isolation, though, if you'd have put Cummins, Stark, Hazlewood as your leading seamers against the Indian seam attack, Bumrah, Ishant Sharma...
You're still probably at the start. You probably would have been picking in Australia on form. You think, okay, you're playing in your own home conditions. You should be able to bowl well. I think we probably didn't bowl as well as we could have. It's as simple as that. We didn't quite. I don't know if we tried to. We get a bit hyped up in swing bowling, whereas some of our blokes don't really swing it that much. It's not really what they do.
Were you happy with their plans? There seemed to be a lot of focus on the leg side at the body sort of stuff?
A little bit. I mean, I think you're obviously looking at India, you're thinking, they're not going to be able to handle, sort of fast, bouncy sort of conditions. But yeah, so maybe...
By test 4, are we thinking, let's try something a bit different?
Possibly, but maybe we just didn't have, we probably got those plans wrong because we may have been trying to focus on, you need to get the ball up and you need to swing it.
Yeah.
Whereas if you look at those guys, not out and out swing bowlers.
Yeah.
Not a
So when
Hazelwood's is not James Anderson. He's not a genuine swing bowler.
Yeah.
Stark will swing it. He'll swing the new ball, but it's not his sort of go. And Pat Cummins is more sort of hitting it. He got more out of it when he dug it in and sort of back of a length and made it tough for them to score.
Yeah.
Yeah, with a new ball, pitch it up because you should be able to hopefully swing it. But I don't think if you look at our bowling techniques as opposed to the Indians, who tended to stand the seam up a lot more and got it to swing, that's what it was.
They got it to swing. They got it to cut more than the Australians.
Yeah, well, because they hit the seam. I think that's what it is. It may have come down to that little bit more, bowling skill.
Yeah.
Because we couldn't quite get the ball to hit the seam enough. And that was the difference.
With that in mind then, because we did predictions for the Sri Lanka series as well, do you feel like changing your predictions for that series? Do you think that Sri Lanka have got any bowling or batting that Australia should be worried about? I'm happy to put my neck out there first and say, no, I don't think so. I think Australia will win that series 2-0.
Look,
no disrespect to Sri Lanka.
We should win, and we should win 2-0. I would hope that we win the toss in Brisbane and bat first. Because you never know. I mean, it's a day-night test match. So, look, if we lose the toss and happen to be batting at night time, you never know. Some strange things could happen then. I don't think Sri Lanka's got a great deal of experience in day-night test cricket, but you'd rather win the toss and hopefully bat first and get some runs during the daylight hours, and then, bowling at night's always better than batting probably. So, saw a little bit of Sri Lanka in New Zealand. Conditions are obviously a lot different, but their top order sort of struggled a bit. They were rescued on a couple of occasions by their class players in Matthews and Mendes. But you think if we
conditions are probably a bit more like Adelaide at night time. In New Zealand.
In New Zealand, so like with some green wickets, their blokes sort of swung it around quite well. But if we play properly, then we should beat them.
I must have had a few too many cans over the holiday period. I can't remember what I predicted.
I'm pretty sure we all predicted 2-0 to Sri Lanka.
Sri Lanka's...
to Australia.
Sri Lanka's probably in a situation where over the last few years they've lost a few big players, and they probably... there's some good players coming in there, but they're just not there yet, and they've had a tough time of it lately. They haven't been really winning at all.
It could be the series could be close. I'm not saying I don't think we're not going to. I don't think we may not walk all over them. If you look at,
of course, recently they were okay at home, but that's no surprise.
Well, they lost to England at home. So who do we think are the guys from Sri Lanka to look out for? Obviously, I'm going to promote our King Sport sponsored player, Melinda Pushpakamara.
He's not coming. No,
I'm going to promote him anyway.
He probably should.
Because he probably
should be. I mean, he probably should be coming. He's if you look at his first class record, he's got a really good first class record. He's taken over 700 wickets, so he's obviously a decent bowler in the home conditions.
I'd have thought you'd have been more of a fan of Dick Weller.
He's a handy player. He can get. He's a their keeper that can score some. He scored some runs against New Zealand as well. Again, I'm just ignoring your joke, Homer. I'm just trying to keep it professional here.
Did I make a joke?
I don't know. Did you?
I don't know. I was just.
Charlie was laughing.
Charlie's got a dirty mind. That's
you
why.
look at So you look
not at all. We voted yes.
You look at their class players in Matthews, Chandimal, Mendes are going to be the key for them.
Pereira.
If someone in the top order can make some runs, that's going to help them. So whether or not their bowling is going to be strong enough. Their spinners are not going to get probably as much help out here.
Well, Harath is retired.
Harath is retired, so they're obviously looking for someone to replace him. So, and that's a big loss for them. So
De Silva. Thoughts? 4 overs, none for 7. I'm just looking up.
Don't really know enough about him to give you honestly, but I think so I think they're bowling. Like I said, if you want to win in Australia, you need top class bowling, and they may not have.
We'll get back to you.
Yeah, we'll
get back to you shortly.
They may not have the class bowling that's needed.
Yeah,
I'd agree with that. And this is perhaps the chance for the Australian selectors to keep the faith in some of these guys at test level that perhaps may have underperformed against India. Say, right, go out against Sri Lanka, show us what you can really do before we drop you for Steve Smith when he comes back.
Well, yeah, so you're looking at, essentially, there's only, Smith will come back and Warner will come back. There's pretty much
no doubt about Warner will come back in?
I don't think we have much choice. Unless you're talking Harris goes out and scores 200s into this, Khawaja scores 200 in this, and they can open the batting, or if Renshaw opens the batting, he goes out and scores 200s in this, and makes the case that they don't have to pick him straight away.
You don't see the Warner situation being like the Kevin Peterson situation, where the selectors feel that he's toxic to a dressing room and he's not going to integrate well back into the fold.
That might have been the case had Australia performed better in this test series against India, but I think we're in a situation where perhaps we need Warner back in the team.
Yeah. But you know what, I'd maybe counter that. If you look at the Kevin Peterson situation, England coming off the back of a 5-0 drubbing decide to get rid of what was at the time their best batsman. Joe Root hadn't quite made it to that level yet. Alistair Cook was woefully out of form at the time as well. Kevin Peterson was the...
Did he get back into form after that?
Well, he banged 200 against you lot, Melbourne.
Yeah, that was flat. That was flat. That was that pitch was rated as poor.
And probably a case of a little bit too much, too late there in that series.
Yeah, 100%. When you're 3-0 down, dead rubber runs. But no, he did regain form. I'm just going to put that out there. You know,
he's a legend. Don't get us wrong.
100.
Well, he's now knighted.
He is, Sir Alistair Cook. Congratulations on that. While we are talking about English cricket, I'm going to change the tone slightly in that there's been some sad news recently. So last year, Andrew Strauss stepped down from his Director of Cricket role at the England and Wales Cricket Board in order to take care of his wife, Ruth, who was suffering from cancer. In the last week and a half, I think she has passed away. So from all at Kingsgrove Sports, we'd like to offer our condolences to Andrew Strauss and his family at this time. I think they actually spend a lot of their time here in Australia. I think she passed away at her house. I think it's in Bendigo or Ballarat, somewhere down in Victoria. And coming off the back of the Sydney Test, which is obviously huge for the Jane McGrath, the McGrath Foundation, and the breast cancer nurses that go out into the country, I felt it was appropriate to broach that subject in the show. So, yeah, condolences from all of us here at Kingsgrove Sports.
Well said, Charlie.
Thank you. Okay, so anything else that we want to add for the Australia versus Sri Lanka Test Series at all?
Well, the selections. Obviously, the new squad has been picked. The Marshes are out. Pekowski in. Stewie. What are your thoughts?
You sound like you had a bit of a Pekowski then.
He did, yeah.
There you go.
Well, he's only played 8 first-class games.
Yep.
He has scored, like a big double 100 and a big 100, but still, only 8 games in. He's talented.
Obviously, there's something very special about this young cricketer.
He's only 20.
But is it a situation where... all right, there's 2 ways of looking at it. Number one, he's still very young and he hasn't had a lot of exposure to that slightly higher level of cricket, even though he's, got that double century. The other thing is that he just recently had to take some time away from the game because his mind wasn't right. He had to get a few things sorted out there. Are we throwing him potentially to the wolves by saying, come play Test cricket, or does a young fella like that need to just play another season or 2 of Shield cricket to find himself, find where his mind and head's at with the game, sort that out, and then you're ready for the next level? It's
a tough one. It's almost again, like I was saying, they're trying to find that silver bullet. He's 20. They're trying to find the next Ricky Ponting, which. he may very well be, but like you said, if he scored that double 100 and then he had to take some time off to deal with some issues, so you wouldn't want to put him back in and put that extra pressure on him. I heard him interviewed yesterday, and he said he thinks that he's ready, and he reckons he's ready to go. He has
to think he's ready.
Well, you've got to think you're ready to go, but
that's the point. How much of that is bravado? And
I mean, and at 20, if you have that sort of the attitude that most 20-year-olds have, that you're 10 foot tall and bulletproof and you can do whatever, then it's probably okay. He could come out and he could make some runs, which would be great. It'd be great for him. It'd be great if it works, because he's a talent. But whether or not, it would be better for him to go back and just be playing for Victoria, making some more runs, making some more hundreds, and then possibly get looked in, get some runs under his belt, go through some situations where you've got to battle it out a bit or whatever it might be. Was it worth keeping Pete Hanscom in because he played in Sydney? So now, from my point of view, Pete Hanscom is like the selectors who have said, well, you're not playing Test cricket again. Unless you can score two seasons where you score 1,200 runs, you score lots of centuries, then you can get back in. But otherwise, we don't think you're good enough. Is that the message that it's got, that Pete's got? Because he's come in for what he's been dropped. Big bash, in for a Test match, dropped.
Well, I guess we don't know, because we're not privy to the phone call that happens, or you'd like to think that the selectors touch base with these players to let them know what there's been a bit of talk about communication with the selectors, and how they're communicating, how they're communicating well enough. You got to feel for him, because you've just been through a tough period in the Indian series, and you'd like to think that the Australians are going to enjoy some better cricket.
So is it not an opportunity, if you think he is a Test player, to play him against Sri Lanka and say, you've got these 2 tests, you've got potentially 4 innings, go out and get some runs if you want to go with the Ashes series next year. We think that you're good enough, but you've got to go out and score some runs. Here's an opportunity to do it, but he's not going to get that opportunity. He can go back and play Big Bash and slog a couple.
Are we using this series now or are we focused on the Ashes?
I think so. You obviously have to look at what's coming up, and you have to look at that. So this is a dress rehearsal for a couple of blokes in there: Joe Burns, Matt Renshaw, Labuschagne, Pukovsky, Travis Head. Go out and get runs. Even Usman Khawaja.
In any format,
needs to get some runs. It's good. I think it's good that they picked Khawaja in the one-day team. He is a good one-day cricketer. Just gives him another opportunity to score more runs at a sort of needs to be a bit more free flowing. Because I thought one of the problems with Uls in the Test series was that he just couldn't rotate the strike well enough. If you look at Bajara, and he occupies the crease a lot, and he bats for a long time, but he can work a single.
A common argument I had over the holiday period. One person in particular was Harold Solomons, a.k.a. Harry. An argument that we both enjoyed together was Tim Payne.
Yep.
Did he underperform? Are we focused on his captaincy and maybe not enough on the fact that he should be coming in at 7 and scoring more runs and potentially knocking out a century himself? He came in and he got some very useful 30s and stuff like that. But do we expect more from our wicket keepers?
I think we expect more from our keepers these days because of one A. Gilchrist.
Or is it the fact that he's very witty behind the stumps where we're prepared to deal with that? Because I have a feeling he should be babysitting Pant's children.
Look,
does Pant have children?
Tim's in.
I think he'll be going back to India and having plenty.
So Tim's he's in a tough spot. He's the best keeper in the country, and that's what he's picked to do. So he did that well during the series. They've given him the captaincy because he was the only pretty much I think the only person who could do it. And he's done that well.
Tough gig.
That's a tough gig.
Tough gig.
I think if you ask him, he would personally like to score more runs and be scoring hundreds at Test level, but he does only have 1 or 2 first-class centuries anyway.
That's an interesting point. Is being the best wicketkeeper in the country enough to warrant your selection. For example,
well, it depends on the batting lineup.
The best wicketkeeper England have had in the last 20-odd years, many have argued, is Chris Reed.
Yeah.
However, his Test batting record, not the best. I think he scored 150.
Doesn't read well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I guess it depends. It depends on your own individual team. So, you take India. Pant is not the best keeper in India. Saha is the best keeper, but he's been injured. And Pant bats better than Saha.
I thought Pant's keeping was brilliant.
He did a decent job. I'm not saying he's a terrible keeper, but they say
he's not the best. But
by all reports, Saha is the best keeper in India, but his batting's not as good.
Yeah.
So if you've got a keeper that's decent but bats better, he's probably going to get picked.
Apparently he's not a very good babysitter.
No, his babysitting is awful. Look, I mean, Tim would like to obviously score more runs.
Yeah.
As we go down the line, like there will be pressure on him because look, if Matt Wade keeps scoring runs, then maybe and if as long as his keeping's good enough, I mean, Matt's keeping at the end of it got a bit scrappy and wasn't as great.
Yeah.
Can they not pick them both?
Well, they could. Yeah, they could, but I think
a lot of people are calling for Wade.
Yeah, to come in and bat it. Yeah,
to come in as
a batsman. So he bats at 6. But then, if you could say that if we could find more batsmen that score more runs, and Wade could bat at 7, and if his keeping's good enough, then you've got 7 batsmen.
Yeah, I mean,
well, actually, almost 8 because of the way. I mean, like Pat Cummins could probably bat at 4 for us at the moment.
Well, we've said
what about Carey?
O'Keefe?
No,
Nicola.
No. Well, I mean, again, he's only playing. I mean, at the moment, all he's playing is Big Bash.
Yeah.
So he needs to score more runs. He needs to score runs at Shield level. He needs to score more runs at Shield level.
That's what we've mentioned. The currency should be the runs at Shield level. And again, to refer back to England, they've got 3 keepers in there.
Start putting a counter up on the screen, like Charlie's England counter. Every time there's a reference to England, just like
they do. Yeah, they do now have 3.
Bairstow, Joss Buttler, and who am I forgetting?
Ben Folkes.
Ben Folkes.
Yeah.
Who's current? So he's the keeper.
Yeah.
Because they picked him because he's the best keeper, and he bats well. But he bats okay apparently.
Yeah, I know he does all right.
The good thing is that they picked Josh Buttler because Josh Buttler is a good player. He's obviously a good batsman. He's been scoring runs for England, so they picked him in the so look, you're a keeper, so we've got a keeper, so we can't pick you. So they picked him, and then I mean, really, like I don't know, if Johnny Bairstow was necessarily the world's greatest keeper.
He was a stopper.
It was a batsman who put the gloves on.
Absolutely.
Who got better? Like again, his keeping's not awful, but again, he's probably not really playing in. Yeah, you should be able to. From behind, standing back, you should be able to take him. You should be pretty good at doing that.
Yeah,
standing up the stumps on a raging turner in India, and you've got 3 spinners bowling and they're jagging everywhere.
He did tick the ginger box, though.
That's true.
Well, that's where the glove work is where Tim Payne and Ben Folkes stand on their own. Why don't you let us know what you think? Use that hashtag KSC podcast through the platforms that I mentioned at the top of the show. Facebook, Kingsgrove Sports Centre, Instagram at Kingsgrove Sports, and Twitter at Kingsgrove Sport. And we'll wind up the test talk on that note. Big Bash, do we want to touch on that? I'm just having a quick look at the ladder here. And Hurricanes are going all right, aren't they?
Hurricanes have been good, but they've got a great team. Very good batting lineup. Just when you think all hope is gone, George Bailey comes in.
Yep. Just keeps scoring runs. Whether he's facing the bowler or he's not facing the bowler.
Doesn't matter.
Doesn't matter. He still gets runs. Do you need
some Strepsils, mate?
I don't know what's going on. I don't know what's going on. Too much talk. You need to shut up. Shut up.
Now, Stu, well, we've only really touched there on the BBL, but the WBBL, the reading doesn't look good for you, does it, with Thunder at the top there?
Oh, it's all right. Two Sydney teams. I mean, obviously, I would like the Sixers to be, winning, but it's. I mean,
you know what?
They're coming second, and they're only 1 point behind,
and they've got a game in hand.
And we've got a game in hand. It doesn't. But at the end of the day, it's who wins on the final day, not where you come after the preliminary rounds.
Any highlights for you in there that you want to talk about?
Well, I mean, there's been a lot. I mean, you can't go past Elise Perry, who is. I mean, I'm pretty sure she could probably close her eyes and still make runs. She's hitting them. She's hitting them that well. She's broken the record for the most runs in the WBBL, and there's still games to go. She's scored over 600 runs.
Yep.
I think she got 200s and plenty of 50s. She's bowling well at the moment as well. Which
is a phenomenon.
Grace Harris for me.
Grace Harris.
What a character too. What a good, honest type of character,
wonderful personality. Just she is who she is, and
and has the record again.
Man's got the record again. Hit him just
past a century,
melted them.
Kingsport.
Didn't want the 100. She just wanted to win the game and get off. But luckily, Beth Mooney said, "No, you're going to get the 100," and she made her get it, which was good. Yeah, she hit him just hits him clean, just ridiculously.
Well, it's funny you should say that. I know that the Hobart Hurricanes in the WBBL are languishing down the bottom there.
Yes,
but our own Georgia Redmayne,
I
saw her in the nets here a couple of months ago. Before I realised who it was, and I'm just watching. She was smoking it. The timing that she had was phenomenal. The way she hits the ball, fantastic.
If you go like I do encourage people to go out if you can, to go out and watch the girls play, because they do hit them. They do hit them very clean. You've got some, Elise Perry, Alyssa Healy, Ash Gardner, Grace Harris. The list goes on. Stefani Taylor. Harmanpreet Kaur, I mean, you don't see many people hit them better over cover in the air than Harmanpreet Kaur. There's some excellent players playing. You can see some really good batting, and they do. Yeah, they hit them. They hit them clean. They hit them well. So yeah,
I've been really impressed with the quality of spin bowling in the WBBL. I think the spinners have done a fantastic job from what I've seen. It's just such a massive part of the game now, isn't it? But
T20 cricket is...
It's almost like Stefani Taylor, who was one of the best batters in the world, now has become one of the best spin bowlers in T20 cricket.
She's ranked the best all-rounder in T20 cricket, so batting and bowling. Yeah, she's bowling well at the moment. Yeah, I think she might be the leading wicket taker in the competition, I think, possibly. Yeah. Or equal leading wicket taker.
You've had even in the Sydney Thunder, you've had young girls come in and prove themselves, and there seems to be quite a bit of depth there.
Well, you've got to have in 2020 cricket, male or female, you've got to have good spinners these days. It's turned around from T20 cricket is going to kill spin bowling to if you can't bowl, if you don't have decent spinners, then you won't win games of cricket. You've only got to look at Rashid Khan, the world's best T20 player.
How is that bloke only 20?
I don't know. I need to check the birth certificate. He looks a little bit older than that, but
yes.
But he's a phenomenal bowler.
Yeah.
And then you've got the young kid from Nepal who played for the Stars, was phenomenal. Then you've got you need decent leg spinners. You've got mentioned a couple of King Sport players here. John O'Cook,
might as well.
John O'Cook, Chris Green, Ben Manenti, spin bowling.
Yeah.
You bowl it well. It's hard to get away and.
That's been one of the positives, because I always thought to myself, we're a bit light on for international players, particularly in our Sydney teams this year.
Yeah.
And I thought, well, it's been a great opportunity for some young grade guys to get their opportunity, and they've done pretty well.
Yep.
There goes the throat again.
Yeah.
Soothers.
You got a frog in there.
Right?
I got a cane toad or something.
Don't tell Pauline.
Has there been? Is the competition too big? Are there too many games?
Personally, I think it is. I think it's too long.
It's a bit saturated.
It gets a bit. Yeah, I know it's at the start. Everyone was great because it was on every day. It was all right, but then it's just like they get a bit samey. It's just like I think shorter, compact, quicker, faster is probably better.
So how would you do that? Would you split them up into divisions, or just reduce the number of teams?
No, I don't think you reduce the number. I wouldn't reduce the number.
I think you can increase the team.
There's not even that many teams, are there?
No, there's not that many teams.
8. Yeah.
I'd be concerned about increasing the number of teams.
What did we have last season? 10 games?
No, I think it was more. I think it might have been
10 games each. I mean.
Oh, possibly. Yeah, they're now gone. I mean, which is understandable. Home and away, you pay everybody home and away, but. Yeah. It increases it a lot. I don't know whether or not, if you're playing in Melbourne, if you can do it in the MCG and you can do double headers.
Yeah. I reckon.
Where you're sort of in and out. But
try and make 10 teams and just one game each.
Possibly. Yeah. But then they'd sort of argue,
Could you have a team from the ACT and even the Northern Territory?
Possibly. It's about getting the depth. You want to have a decent enough players across the entire competition that you've got good competition.
Yeah.
And whether you could argue that you have, because there's people sitting on the sideline not playing because they're in a team that they can't get into and they're the backup players. But yeah, I don't know. Sometimes I think it just goes a bit long. Sometimes.
I'd agree with that, personally.
Again, look, I know. I mean, for instance, because like you said, like it's a holiday time when you want it in. The Big Bash won't finish until after the school holidays, after the kids go back finally. So it's like, well, you've sort of extended it that far, and people might start forgetting about it and just moving on to other things. So
especially when you've got the Test series on top of that with Sri Lanka, and then there'll be an inevitable one-day series afterwards.
I'm actually really looking forward to the Sheffield Shield season resuming.
Yeah,
you know, and following the scores and saying who wants to put their hand up.
Yeah,
but sadly, it may not mean that they get any selection.
No,
unless they fit into a particular pathway or
something.
Whatnot.
Yeah. So, but yeah.
Any predictions who we think is going to take out the title, BBL and WBBL?
I think the Sixers will
do
it again.
Both?
I was talking about WBBL for the Sixers. As much as I'd like to see them take out the men's, I'm going to go with the Hurricanes.
Yeah, I'm obviously firmly in the Sixers camp for the WBBL. They will have some competition. It will be tough. So, but yeah, I think that hopefully the Sixers can do it. In the Big Bash, yeah, you're looking at the Hurricanes are obviously playing quite well. Renegades are a bit of a sneaky chance. They're sort of doing okay, so you never know. Yeah. But the Hurricanes are the favourites at the moment. Yeah,
fair enough.
Yourself?
It's hard to steer too far away from that, really. Previous seasons, I would have maybe said the Scorchers, but they're way down. Look, I'll go with. I'm going to go out there. Sydney Sixers for both BBL and WBBL.
That'll be a big upset in the BBL.
Yeah,
I hope it happens, but it'll be a big upset.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now, look, with the Test series that's just gone accepted, my history of sports prediction is not that good. So if you're thinking of running to the bookies based on my prediction there, don't do it. Don't do it. Anything else that we want to add about the Big Bash, gents, before we wrap it up?
No, I think we're done. I think we've. Well, my voice is gone, so yeah, I'm ready to wrap it up.
Any other topics of any kind that we want to broach?
No, because the music started. That
means producer Nick wants to get out of Dodge.
We're getting the wind.
I think it's well concluded, guys.
No worries. If you get the chance as well, take a look at the cricket tragic Gus Warland. Kingsgrove Sports was featured on that in the last episode as well. Check out Harry's interview. And come and see us at Kingsgrove Sports, and we'll talk to you next time on episode 9.
Catch you later.